You know, I always thought that I rescued you from the Dragon's Keep.
You did?
No. It was you that rescued me.
Fairy tales usually end with everyone living happily ever after. Of course, this doesn't sound very realistic. Many different films have been made about what happens beyond the last pages of children's books, continuing the original stories. Shrek, on the other hand, considers all these fairy tales to be nonsense, good only for toilet paper. In the cartoons about the Green Ogre, we see our favorite characters from a new perspective. They do not live in a fairy tale at all, but in a parody of one. Here, instead of a white horse, there is a talkative donkey. Rapunzel wears a wig, Cinderella has obvious signs of obsessive-compulsive disorder, and the Fairy Godmother uses her position to marry her son to the princess. The creators of Shrek destroy the castles in the air that Charles Perrault and other fairy tale writers have been building for so many years. Now we see what the world is really like. Surviving here and finding a happy ending is not so easy. Let's figure out how philosophy can help with this. Fairy tales can teach us some really important and useful lessons. They teach us to be kind, brave, and not to eat apples given to us by strangers. But at the same time, many fairy tale characters don't set the best example. Just think of all those princesses who waited for their princes instead of taking matters into their own hands. Getting rid of such life scenarios and stereotypes instilled in us since childhood is much more difficult than accepting that dragons do not exist. It is these stereotypes that Shrek fights against. He not only challenges public taste, but also rebels against the usual foundations. How does he do it? In the same way that Harry Potter fought Boggart, the embodiment of fear. With laughter. To destroy the idols of the past, the creators of Shrek ridicule them. The story of Shrek is a parody of children's fairy tales, designed to talk to the audience about real adult problems. The main storyline of the first film parodies the typical story of a princess whom a prince must rescue from a dragon. Of course, in Shrek, things are not so romantic. Lord Farquaad chooses Fiona from among other princesses, shown to him by a magic mirror that predicts the arrival of Tinder. Of course, Farquaad has no intention of fighting the dragon himself and hires an ogre to do it. However, Fiona can stand up for herself. Shrek also parodies other well-known fairy tales. For example, we see a wolf who is friends with 3 little pigs and wears a woman's dress because he likes it, not to deceive Little Red Riding Hood. The cartoon also contains numerous references to popular culture, including wrestling, television shows, and a scene from Austin Powers. At the same time, it can be said that Shrek often parodies Disney cartoons rather than classic fairy tales, and the name Far, Far Away on the Hill clearly refers to Hollywood. The entire film industry is presented as a factory of dreams, ephemeral and unrealistic. In Shrek, the characters often use a high style of speech, which at the same time is combined with reduced vocabulary and toilet humor. The cartoon seems to be sewn together from different pieces that do not fit together. In fact, Shrek is a product of his time. The parody and bitter irony that abound in the franchise are an integral part of postmodernism. The philosopher Jean-François Lyotard discussed this era. Modernism, which promised freedom to humanity by freeing the mind from ignorance, ultimately led to world war and the decline of humanism. Therefore, postmodernism came to replace it. Humanity, in crisis, satirically exposes outdated ideals that have failed to live up to expectations. But the beauty of Shrek is that parody is just a way to talk about more important issues. Shrek is indeed like an onion, with many layers. Let's take a closer look at them. In fairy tales, good princes and princesses are usually also beautiful, unlike evil witches and sorcerers. External ugliness becomes a manifestation of internal qualities or punishment. As in the fairy tales, the story of Dwarf Nose and Beauty and the Beast. Shrek is not what you would call handsome. He is a scary and evil green ogre. He is aware of his reputation and maintains it by behaving accordingly. His disgusting habits match his image. In our minds, ugly things are automatically perceived as bad in every way. Take, for example, a centipede. Many people find it frightening, repulsive, or even disgusting. But is it dangerous to humans? If you don't touch it, it won't bite you. And its bites are not fatal. However, this information does not affect our attitude toward it. We also often think that people who are pleasant on the outside are also good in every other way. This is because the brain is too lazy to analyze each specific case. This cognitive distortion is called the halo effect. In the world where Shrek lives, ogres are considered ugly. But it is not aggression and unsociability that make him ugly. On the contrary, because of his appearance, people do not expect anything good from him, and he tries to live up to their expectations. Even his name means fear, horror, what people scream when they see him. Why are ogres considered ugly? The answer can be found in the book, The History of Ugliness, edited by philosopher and semiotician Umberto Eco. In the classical world, a miracle, something strange, was perceived as a harbinger of imminent disaster. The world depicted in Shrek is similar to the Middle Ages, so it would not be surprising to Umberto Eco that fairy tale creatures are perceived in this way here. They represent something unseen, abnormal, and are therefore considered freaks. In the first film, they are even banished to the swamp. In addition, ugliness can become an acquired trait. Take Eco's example of syphilis. Over time, without proper treatment, a person with syphilis loses their human appearance. Bone growth, tendon damage. This disease makes a person's appearance ugly. The loss of a human face leads us to understand ugliness. Shrek, in the guise of an ogre, is feared and hated. But as soon as he drinks the potion and turns into a human, people's attitude towards him changes, even though he remains the same inside. The fact that his appearance conforms to certain standards makes him beautiful in the eyes of most people. The same thing happens with the donkey. He turns into a white horse, which is not embarrassing to ride to rescue a princess because that is the standard established in all fairy tales. Shrek shows once again that one should not judge people, ogres, and other creatures by their appearance. They are all multi-layered, like an onion, and there is much more hidden beneath the outer shell. Like any creature endowed with consciousness, ogres are complex. Of course, Shrek is wrong and is influenced by stereotypes, but at the same time, he is capable of compassion and acknowledging his mistakes, because behind his frightening appearance in the eyes of humans lies a conscious being with the same qualities as a human. Remember Fiona's curse. By day one way, by night another. This shall be the norm, until you find true love's first kiss, and then take love's true form. What is her true form? At first, Fiona considers herself one of the princesses whom the handsome prince must rescue from the dragon. She identifies specific characteristics that she associates with this group, which includes Snow White, Cinderella, Rapunzel, and others. To belong to a particular group or several groups means to find one's identity. Usually, people build relationships with those around them based on their identity. Princesses, for example, wait for princes and sing to birds, while ogres scare everyone around them. The philosopher David Hume believed that our identity is made up of how others perceive us. I am a bundle of perceptions, a set of characteristics supported by my name, reputation, fame, or appearance. Shrek, for example, realizes that he is huge and understands that it is easier for him to go to the swamp, where he can be alone, because society believes that is where he belongs. Remember the boy who tries to make Shrek roar, because if he doesn't, he's not an ogre at all.
Mr. Shrek, could you do that ogre roar of yours for my son? He's a big fan.
Do the roar.
You know, I'd rather not. It's my kid's birthday party.
Do the roar.
The donkey does not accept his identity, dreaming of being a racehorse, but even his name emphasizes that he is just one of many other donkeys. He does not have his own name like Shrek and Fiona. However, Shrek shares one piece of wisdom with us. Over time, you learn not to pay attention to labels and to trust yourself. The main characters succeed in this. They stop living according to the books that dictate how they should be. Fiona can remain human forever and be with Shrek, who came for her on a white horse named Donkey. But she realizes that her true form, as mentioned in the curse, is that of an ogre. She is not a helpless princess and does not want to be perceived as such. Shrek, Fiona, and Donkey remain themselves and eventually realize that no matter what form you take, you will only be happy when you remain yourself. Do you like Shrek? Watch these movies again. Write in the comments which part of Shrek you like the most. This is Movie Geek signing off. Bye!